This is cs952 Introduction to Web Technologies and Design, and in the last video we added in two more elements to our web page, the main section or the section, and then we added in the footer. So now we're going to learn how to style our navigation bar, and anytime that we talk about styling or colors or whatever, remember you should be thinking CSS, Cascading Style Sheets. The code needed to change the color of our navigation bar is a little bit involved because if you think about it, our navigation bar looks differently depending on whether you're using a mobile device or desktop device. Then you've got drop-down elements, menu items that appear underneath main menu items. So there's actually a lot of little moving parts there as opposed to just saying make it blue. So there's a website called TWBSColor. So let's go over here, and if you Google TWBSColor, the first hit that you get at the very top is TWBSColor, generate your own Bootstrap nav bar. And if you go to the website and you scroll down, you're going to see a nav bar that looks real familiar. This is basically the same navigation bar that we've added to our website. They still have the drop down on the far right hand side, but we took ours out. And what this does is it lets you pick the different colors for your website. So let's say for the default background on my website, I wanted some sort of maybe a blue color. So you can drag this little color bar, and then you can change the hue and the intensity here, and you can click on choose, and then the website shows you, well, this is what it's going to look like with the blue background. Now, the active background is whatever the active element is on your website, like if you're at the home page or you're in the frequently asked questions page. So maybe I want that to be some sort of yellow color. So I can drag the color bar up here and maybe select that yellow color, then hit choose. Now it shows us what that looks like. Now this is real hard to use because the active color for the word link is real difficult to see. So maybe I want to change it to the color black. Now you might recall from the section on web colors in the second or third module that the color black is pound 000000, which basically means no color at all. And I can hit choose. There you go. So now if I wanted to use these colors for my website, I am basically done at this point. I will copy the code that I need and then add it to my website. So before we do that though, what I'd like to do is I would like to take that color set that I generated in week 3, and I'd like to create a menu bar that's kind of keyed off of the colors that I had. So as you recall, you saved a JPEG file, an image file called color set. It was part of the assignments that you had to do for module 3. And so what I want to do is I want to take that color set and use those colors to set the colors in my navigation bar. Now there's a step that's kind of in between them because, see, I know that there's an orange color that I like, but I don't know exactly what the number is, the color code number is for that orange color. So if I click here under default background, I can move this little tool around. I can select different colors just by experimentation. But I don't know how to actually plug in the specific color number that I need here. I don't know exactly what the hex color is for burnt orange. So there's another website that we can use. If I don't remember the web address, I just Google image to hex color. The first link you get right here, get colors from image. Let's click on that. And it says get colors from image. So I'm going to scroll down, and what I need to do is choose a file. And I'm going to load the color set file that I created in week 3. Here we go, color set. Now you need to click on the show image button, and now it is loaded in those colors. So I can find out what is the hex color of any of these colors. So let's maybe we're going to start with the very strong purple color. So this is the color code. This number represents this color. So I'm just going to highlight that. I'm going to right click and choose copy. And I'm going to go back to my Twitter Bootstrap Color webpage, click on the default background, and now I'm going to highlight the color that's there now, hit paste, and then hit choose, and now I've got that purple background. Kind of cool. Actually, that doesn't look too bad right there. What I'm thinking I'll do is, for my active link, I'm actually going to go with a black background. And if I wanted to use, again, another color from my image set, let's say maybe I wanted to use this sort of burnt orange color, I could click on the burnt orange color. There's the color code for it. Right click and choose copy. then go over here, highlight that number that's there and hit paste. And there's the burnt orange color. That's neat, but I'm really thinking that I want to go with the black color. And as you may recall, the color for black is $000000. I'm going to hit choose. Now obviously the problem is you can't read the text because it's black text on a black background. So I'll change the active color to $FFFFFF, which you may recall that is the color white. So we'll click on choose. Now I've got the color white there. I want my default color to be a little bit darker than it is, so there's a little bit more of a contrast between those two. So I'll just click here and drag this down, make that kind of more of a darker gray, and hit choose. And there we go. So this is the color combination I'm going to use for the navigation bar for my website. I like this. I'm going to move on from here. So how do I get this actually into my web page? I can look at it, I can see it, but where's the code? You scroll down the page some more. There's some notes about adding the Bootstrap assets. We don't have to do that, right? Because Dreamweaver already did that for us when it created the website, right? It already added in the Bootstrap CSS and the Bootstrap JavaScript. This is what we're looking for. It says copy the generated sassy sass, sass less, or CSS. These are all fancy words for code that sets certain colors. Now for us, we're working with CSS, which is the standard universal way to set your colors. These other ones require what are called compilers. We're not using a compiler, so we just want to go to CSS. And if you scroll down here and you look at the CSS, this should look familiar. If you recall from week 3, we have .navbar-default. So what is that? That says something that has a class of navbar default. We know it's a class because it starts with a period. And we know that whenever we're talking about classes, the term starts with a period. If you're talking about an ID, it starts with a pound sign. So it says anything that's got a class of navbar default, do what? And so then this is our declaration block. It's saying the background color is this color right here. And the border color is this color right here. And of course, this background color, this is that purple color, right? 4E3174. If we look over here and click here, there it is, 4E3174. That's our color. So we've run into this before. This is the CSS rules that we've talked about. So now, this next part, I think is the trickiest part of this whole thing. I need to copy all this code. So I'm going to click just to the left of that period, and I'm going to click and hold with my mouse and just drag down the page and let my web browser scroll down. As you can see, there's pretty fair amount of code that we're going to be copying. So this is what I want to copy. I'm just going to scroll on up here. Everything that I've got highlighted, this will set all the colors from a navigation bar. So I'm going to right click and choose copy. Now I've got that copied. How do I get this from the web page to Dreamweaver? We go back to Dreamweaver and we're going to create a new CSS file. We already have a CSS file that's Bootstrap. That's the default colors for our website. We're going to create a new CSS file that's going to be called navigation, and it's going to be there to set the colors of our navigation. So I'm going to go to CSS Designer. We haven't worked with CSS Designer yet, but remember CSS Designer, that's where we change the colors, the appearance of our website. And I'm going to create a new source, a new CSS file. So I'm going to click on plus next to add CSS source, and I'm going to create a new CSS file. Now the next thing I do, I don't say OK yet. I'm going to click on my Browse button because I want to make sure that I save this new CSS file inside of my CSS folder. I want to keep all my files organized. So I'm going to open up my CSS folder. We already have a file there, Bootstrap. The name of my new file is going to be nav, N-A-V. So this way I'll know this is the file that has all the rules for my navigation. So I'm going to hit save. And I'll need to hit OK one more time. So when I do that, Dreamweaver's added a new file to my website. And if I look up here under my related files, I can see there's a file there called nav.css. It's a new file that's being added to my website. It's got an asterisk next to it because as you recall, when we have a file name with an asterisk next to it in Dreamweaver, that means it has unsaved changes. So I'm going to see what that file looks like. So let me go to split view, and I'm going to click on nav.css, and when I do that, I can still see my web page up here, but down here this is actually showing me what's in nav.css. So it's got one little bit of placeholder content here. It says character set is UTF-8. We don't need that, so I'm just going to highlight that and hit delete. What I do need to do is paste in all that code that I copied from the web page. When I do paste that in, Dreamweaver will immediately read that code, and it'll be just as if we just loaded this web page up. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit paste, and here we go. As soon as I pasted that code in, look at the navigation bar on my website. It now looks like the navigation bar from the website that we were looking at online. It's got the same colors and everything. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit Save All. And now I've saved all of my changes. Now you can go back and you can continue to, if you want to work with the other website and mess around with the colors some more, you can go back to Dreamweaver if you want to then just delete all of this code that you just now added, or choose Undo. Or we'll learn how to work a little bit more inside of Dreamweaver to change the colors. But this is basically how do we customize the navigation bar for our website. And just to mention one more thing, if we go back and let's look at the head of our document, and remember we had that one link, right? If I clicked on this link, I'm going to switch back to, I want to go back to my source code. Okay. This is my home page right here. When I clicked on source code, I didn't want to look at my navigation bar. I wanted to look at my source code for my main page. And if I clicked on my link, we had this link before, and it links our website to the Bootstrap CSS file. When we added in that new CSS file called navigation, we had this new link added to our site, and now it's linking to nav.css. We had style for our navigation bar that was kind of unexciting. It was the default Bootstrap navigation file. Remember when we talked about the rules for CSS, the last rule that loads is the rule that gets priority. So when the website loads, first thing it does is it loads bootstrap.css, which has the kind of boring looking navigation. And then the next thing, the next file that it's going to load, this is the order that it loads my nav.css. And the style rules that we created for nav.css, they take priority over the Bootstrap one. So we actually have two different rules for what our navigation looks like. The first one is the kind of boring black and white Bootstrap navigation, and then we have the new one that we just created that has the colors in it. So this is going to wrap up changing the colors for our navigation, and we're going to come back and we're going to look at doing a little bit more customization of our development page.